From Zamo Digital, welcome to the SaaS Marketing Superstars podcast with your host, Aaron Zakowski. This is the show where we uncover proven growth strategies from CMOs and marketing leaders behind some of the fastest growing SaaS companies.
Hey, superstars. Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Aaron Zakowski, and today I'm chatting with Steffen Hedebrandt. Steffen is the co-founder and CMO of Dreamdata, a B2B attribution platform that helps connect marketing activities with revenue. Steffen is an expert in measuring a content strategy's impact on revenue pipeline. Hey, Steffen, how are you doing today?
Hey, Aaron, I'm doing good, and thanks for having me to join here.
Yeah, well, thanks for joining the show. Really excited to have you. I've been aware of your company, Dreamdata, for a long time. I know you guys help B2B companies with marketing attribution, and we'd love for you just to tell us a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about the company.
Yeah, I'll start out by, so I thought ever since I graduated university, I've been working in B2B companies. So that's somewhat 12, 13, 14 years now. Mm-hmm. And it's always been in companies that has been predominantly digital or like completely digital. So the flavors of what I'm going to say here today is you should think about the bias of always B2B, always in digital companies. So I'm a little bit tilted towards that direction. But ever since I stopped university, I've been working in marketing, growth, business development kind of roles. The last 7 years or so as a like CMO kind of roles, leading B2B marketing teams. And at my last tenure before this company, I was part of this like classic journey of less than 15 employees to 100 employees and zero ad spend up to around $100,000 per month in ad spend. And when you start increasing the amounts to that levels, you start thinking, okay. And the first 10,000 I put in, I had a pretty good, like the cause and effect feeling. Whereas the last 10, 20,000 you put into the machine, it's a little bit, I don't know if it works or not.
Uh-huh. So has your background been predominantly in media buying? Like, were you the media buyer or just general growth marketing?
Like as one of the things I've been doing.
Okay.
I would say my approach to the growth and marketing is, I don't care what the discipline is. I just need to figure it out in the case I'm in. Sometimes it's SEO, sometimes it's Google ads, sometimes it's Facebook ads, sometimes it's social selling, review platforms, outbound. For me, it's very much just about figuring out something that works and then try to scale it as much as you can. Anyway, long story short, spend a lot of time trying to think about attribution, and then coincidentally, I got introduced to my now two co-founders of Dreamdata, and they had actually been going at this problem. I came at it from a marketing problem. They came at it from an engineering side, where in the business they were in. It's called trustpilot.com, and it's one of the biggest review platforms in the world. And they had that question of what happens to an account from the moment it's created until the sales team win a deal on it. And the same kind of thinking is still kind of the core of what we do today is, let's take any account that you deal with. Let's take any touch we know of, whether that's website, ads, calls, meetings, whatever. Let's get it all into a timeline. And then at least then you know what happened to the specific account in terms of what left behind that digital trace. And if you know this, then you have a high chance of also spotting outliers, like things that are consistently present when you win deals, or things you spend a lot of money on that never yields any deals. And then you want to do more of the first and less of the latter.
So you're trying to tell us then that there's more than just a first touch and a last touch that we should be paying attention to.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, and I think let me be the first to say, with attribution, we're really, really, really not trying to make anything up. We're more trying to say, let's look at the digital touches you have available. But very, very importantly, we're going to do this in an account-based data model. So we only work with B2B companies. Mm-hmm. And it's very important that you do account-based attribution here. And what that means is really that in B2B, then you're typically trying to sell to a buying committee, a team of 3, 4, or 5 people or something like that. Mm-hmm. And the ones that typically starts the journeys and the ones that are being affected by your marketing spend, they're very rarely the guys or girls that signs the contracts 5, 6, 7 months later. And that is a major problem if you want to spend your dollars carefully, because if your spend is disconnected from when the revenue comes in, then you end up operating very blindly in starting the journeys when there's no kind of money back at the end of it.
Right. So you're saying the attribution, if an individual clicks on an ad, you might be able to capture their data and the UTM tracking in the first touch within your CRM. But if other people then from the company then end up becoming the decision makers and signing the contract, there could be a disconnect in terms of the data of how did this organization come in the first place.
Yeah, and I think it's a much more severe problem that people actually understand. I'll give you like a simple example. When we have a demo call booked on our website, there's an average of 4 sessions that goes into that journey towards booking a demo call. And the last session, that would always say, or like 99% of the time, somebody came in directly, submitted a demo form. And that's what's being captured also by the CRM system. So it says, okay, this account was won by somebody coming in directly. But what's almost always the case is that it starts with some kind of marketing activity, referral or something else.
Right.
Then the next time it's somebody Googling your brand organically and landing on the front page. And then now the name sticks in the browser, and then you go direct.
So you're only really measuring from the point where somebody submits the contact information into the form, right? And all the touch points that happened before, or potentially not even touch points, the engagements that happened before would be totally discarded, even though they were critical in the person finding the platform in the first place.
Exactly. Like the demo calls just don't fall down from the sky. They do take a path, and this is the path we're trying to help people understand. Now that was just a simple journey of like booking a demo call. Then imagine how, like, if you do a 6-figure B2B contract, how many touches that you do not grasp if you don't put together this data correctly.
Right. Well, as a paid ads agency for B2B, I definitely can relate to that pain, and marketing teams wanting to get as much credit as possible for the impact that they're making over there. It's definitely something that almost every company that I speak to and that I work with is struggling with this, and understanding if it can't be measured by UTM, did it really happen? And obviously, there's so many more touch points that happen, and even after, as you said, after someone submits a form and you have captured them, what additional touch points and engagements are they having between that point and the time that they buy that really are hard to measure? And it sounds like you guys have built some great solutions to actually be able to measure that impact and hopefully do more of whatever things are having the biggest impact on pipeline.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So maybe give me an example of a blind spot that a company would have originally, where let's say they were running Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads or SEO or whatever the marketing, tool or strategy might have been. They get some people in, the whole, black box happens. No one knows what happens from the time somebody signs up for a lead form until several months later when someone closes on a deal. Where would be a good use case that you guys would be able to step in and help somebody?
Yeah, so there's many places. I would say, I'll tell you a few things that comes to mind. One thing is knowing the actual length of your customer journeys. And I would say 90% of what people reply you, if you ask them about how long is your customer journeys, they're actually replying from the time that they got a lead until you won the account. What we can see in our data across all our customers is that the length of time people spend anonymous researching is typically 1 or 1x similar to the links that they spend being identified as an account.
Oh, interesting.
So if you say your sales cycle is 3 months, it's probably more like 6 months, 7 months, something like that. And what that means is that when you're trying to reverse engineer the marketing input you need to do to hit pipeline, say Q3 this year, then you need to have done the marketing investment that is the foundation of the revenue you're going to hit in Q3 that needs to take place in Q1. So it matters a lot in terms of like planning budgets, in terms of understanding when to quit experiments and when to like leave a little bit more patience in the things that you're doing.
So just so I make sure I understand what you just said, because I think it's really an important point. It sounds like you're saying that the time frame from someone first discovering or becoming aware of a company online to the point that they become a lead and fill out a form on a website is 1.5 times longer typically than what we think of as a sales cycle from the time they actually fill the the lead form until they actually make a buying decision. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
But so it would sound like then, I mean, first of all, that's fascinating, because most of us as marketers, we think, oh, someone's going to see our ad, they're going to click, they're going to fill out a form, and then, they're going to become a lead, and, everything's going to be great, off to the races with the sales process, right?
Yeah.
In reality, I think what you're probably advocating for is that the branding and the content and the engagement period needs to be something that we believe to be much stronger, I think, in B2B. I think obviously there are many brands that do quite a great job with that, but companies need to be investing more in that part of the marketing journey that we feel can't be measured, can't be attributed, or at least so we think. Maybe it can be. And I would like you to share your thoughts on that.
Things take a lot longer time than most people expect. Of course, it depends, So there's, you can catch people in market, and they will have like that journey that pretty much correlates with what you said. Like they click an ad, they convert to a demo call, and then they go into a sales process. But a lot of people, they don't have budgets right now. They don't have projects that they're allowed to work on right now, but they're interested in stuff. And that means that if you then start serving them ads on Facebook and LinkedIn, etc., you can get in front of the right people where you can kind of plant a lot of seeds. And once they do get the budget, or they do have time to jump on another project, because people don't have time for new projects all the time. So that means that hopefully you will be top of mind at the point of time where they actually do have this time. So as you say, like, we need to start planting these seeds earlier than we think, because the point of time when they go right into Google what they're searching for, that's the time where you want to have them type in your brand rather than the competition's.
Sure. So I guess where I'd be curious, because it's a fascinating point, just the impact of brand and content, such a long period of time. Most of this stuff doesn't happen direct response, click an ad, fill out a form from cold traffic, and you're off to the races in sales. So I'd like to focus a little bit on that period. Do you have any insights on what type of content or touch points do you recommend, or do you see the data supporting that B2B companies should be engaging in order to warm up those audiences to ultimately get leads farther down the pipeline?
So when you say content, do you mean served on us? So
I'll ask you I'll clarify my question a little bit. For example, we recently had a debate with one of our clients where they wanted us to promote a PDF white paper or report using LinkedIn lead gen forms, right? Lead gen ads. And, they were getting, $50 a lead, whatever they were getting. And we had a debate about, are these ever going to turn into sales opportunities, or are these just people who are downloading an ebook? And I know it's a raging debate within the digital marketers and the advertising people on LinkedIn. But, it sounds like what you would be saying is that there maybe is an argument for, just get these people engaging with you much sooner than they're actually ready to buy. Because, my argument was simply, just because this person is downloading some piece of content from you doesn't mean that has any correlation to them actually being interested in the product or service that the company delivers, right? So how do you think about getting people, paying for people to engage with the company with a hope that they will ultimately have some product intent down the road after some content nurturing?
Yeah. It's a tough one, and I'm pretty sure everybody can pull up cases that are kind of contradicting. I can speak to kind of our own experiments with offering ebooks as like you can download through a lead form on LinkedIn. And my conclusion was that there's a really long way from somebody downloading just a random ebook until they buy something for you. So I would probably not be too set on just getting people to download these ebooks, because I don't think they feel like they're stepping into a sales conversation when they do it.
Right. So I guess
I would count stuff that is more correlating with revenue, which I think counting demo calls is a much more valid metric than somebody downloading an ebook. But anyway, for each business it's different. But I would think about what is a trustworthy proxy for us building pipeline at some point. And what you can do is you can just take, if you generated 100 leads from this lead ad, and look, did any of those actually arrive into the sales pipeline or not?
Sure.
And then you'd have your answer.
Right. Right. And I think generally we see that answer. There's always going to be some outliers that come through, but
Absolutely.
the cost per meeting generally
Somebody's
be much higher that way.
somebody's great at building, let's say, automated email flows, or they have a BDR team that then calls the lead, and there's 100 different ways. But in general, I would rather push for getting the right message to the right people, and then hopefully seeing them come to the website and booking demo calls afterwards, when the intent is stronger than downloading an ebook that they're interested in.
So at Dreamdata, how do you guys think about doing top of funnel awareness advertising to build that audience of people, we'll call them, the dark web, dark socials for this time period, where they're engaging, they might be seeing some of your stuff, you have no idea who they are, they haven't contacted your company in any way yet. What do you do to build that audience who ultimately, hopefully, turn into demo requests and pipeline down the road?
So I can mention a few things we do. I think the biggest one we do is what you can determine as social selling or employee advocacy on LinkedIn. We have a pretty tight program on that, where we have 7-8 salespeople, and you can connect with 100 people per week on LinkedIn.
Yep.
They have to exhaust those 100 connects on ICPs, meaning like customers, people that look like normal customers. And then they have to post 2 to 5 times a week on LinkedIn as well. So like over time, you build up an audience of who's normally like the ones you sell to, and you then serve quality content in front of them just by posting organically. That is a really strong engine for us.
I love that.
And then I think last year we were on 70 podcasts, just
70,
like yours
70.
here. 70 last year. So we try to focus very much on like having a very clearly defined ideal customer profile, and then like search out where are these people on the internet, whether that's Slack channels, podcast, LinkedIn, etc. We actually do these activities without much measurement, because we just know it makes sense. If it, say it's just 50 people that listens to the conversation that the two of us has, but it's a super geeky specific conversation. So I think it will plant a seed somewhere.
Absolutely.
And then the last component is that we do. I really like the matched audience function that LinkedIn has, where you can upload lists of companies, and then you can run ads towards people in specific functions in the company or towards specific job titles. That is kind of what's the military term? Just bombard.
Yeah.
All these companies
like
top level top funnel content is there's no you have to download this thing or you have to book a demo. It's much more just value driven, explaining stuff, like staying top of mind, showing successful cases.
So you've identified a matched list within LinkedIn ads of your target ICPs, however that many thousands of them, and you're just going to keep bombarding them with refreshing content, every week or so. Like, what do you guys do?
Yeah, it's something like that, and then obviously strongly like retarget them everywhere they go on Facebook, Google's Display Network, LinkedIn, etc.
So on LinkedIn, I would imagine you're probably retargeting the people that engage with your videos that you're running to these top of funnel matched audiences.
There's multiple things you can do. You can set the company size of those that you choose to retarget. So, for example, we normally want to stay above 50 employees or something like that. So we don't run ads towards people who work in companies that are less than 50 employees. And there's ways to save some dollars. Or the same with like on Facebook, you can on all the platforms you can exclude the customer emails you have, so you don't spend money on retargeting them and so forth.
Right.
But so I think any company needs to think about, one, we need to address the people who are in market right now. Where do they express behavior about this?
I
would say search, review platforms, maybe marketplaces of the technology and something like that. But then you need to add the layer, because only 1 or 2% of the market is going to be actively searching right now.
Right.
So you need an engine on top of this where you continuously get in front of the right kind of people. Facebook is a good, like, if you know how to target on Facebook, that's a great engine for like planting a lot of seeds with a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's what we do for our clients all day. It's funny. It's been one of the challenges, running paid ads for B2B companies. Our clients are typically looking for a short-term results, or if we can, carpet bomb, as you say, with a direct response offer, direct to a demo request or something like that, top of funnel, how many leads can we get and what price? And then obviously, our most important, I think, data is, can we tie that then back to the pipeline? How many meetings did they get on? How many opportunities and how much revenue ultimately did that drive? Yeah. But most of our clients are impatient when it comes to, okay, well, exactly what you're describing. Well, what about just building that demand slowly over time with content? And it's also been a challenge, I think, within the agency. One thing I found, running a Facebook, LinkedIn ads agency targeting B2B and primarily SaaS clients, is that most people at any given time are not in market and are not interested in hiring an agency right now. Unless they're in market, if we cold email, if we do any type of outreach, no one's interested. The response rates have always been dismal because we're maybe perceived as a commodity, even though we think we're better at it when it comes to the B2B space. But no one's going to respond. But when we put content out there, when we just kind of continually drip it out on LinkedIn or put out ebooks or whatever it might be, we always have people that will come in through our sales pipeline and say, hey, I downloaded your ebook 2 years ago. I was waiting for the opportunity to work with you guys because I knew I wanted to work with you. I just wasn't ready yet. And we've heard that conversation multiple times. And I think we have to be reminded, and I think you're a great reminder for myself and probably many of our listeners of do those things that seem like they're not having an impact until down the road you suddenly see that they're having a really big impact. And it just takes a little while to nurture.
I think you're spot on. We actually put out some benchmarks last year across our customers' journeys, our customers' customer journey, and the average length in those journeys was from the first touch until a deal was won was 192 days. So that means, like, when you're setting up Facebook ads on a cold audience for your clients, in average, it's not fair of them to expect new deals before 6 months later.
Right.
Of course, then you need to come up with more trustworthy proxies along the way, so that there's some connection between we start this activity and then some metric hopefully starts going up, so you don't just sit around for 6 months. But in reality, what you're facing is that the journey is going to be 6 months from we acquire a click in average until there's a customer.
So I think that's a really important point. So what proxy data or metrics do you look at, or maybe the platform Dreamdata helps with, to be able to identify engagement that is meaningful before the point where somebody actually comes and reaches out to contact the company?
So anything before demo call, I don't really count.
So you're not measuring anything that happens before that point?
The technology is the metrics that I need to make sure is at a certain level every month is that the demo calls gets booked. Then, of course, we're measuring all the visitors that arrive to our website and where they come from, etc. And then there's, in those benchmarks we put out, there's also different speeds in different channels. So, say, I think it was, if you came from a review platform, the time to become pipeline was a lot faster than if you came organically from LinkedIn.
Sure, because they had intent, because they're already searching on review.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way kind of, I think your podcast probably works for you as well, is that you start planting some seeds and you start generating some awareness, but it's not like people are in market right now just by listening to your podcast. They're probably just trying to get smarter on whatever topic that the current episode is on.
Right. So going back to the question I asked a moment ago then, so all the touch points and engagement that happen before somebody fills out a form, obviously you can't attribute that to any particular account until you know who that person is and they fill out the form. From the time that somebody fills out a form, are you able to capture and measure retroactively? Okay, now that we know who this person is, we can look back and say, for the last 90 days, they've engaged with these 12 different pieces of content, 12 different touch points. And now that they filled out a form, we can go back and see what the journey really looked like. And then once you have a larger population of people who have filled out the form, and you've got a large population of people you can do that look back on, are you able to start telling a story of what works? Is that how it works?
Yes, that's exactly what we do. And now I can explain the general technology, and then people can go build it themselves if they want. So what you need to do is you need to have like a first-party tracking script that stores every visit to your website. And then you need to create a unique ID for every visitor on your website. Now, at this point, they're just anonymous. And then if they come back, and then you store this in a data warehouse. So every visitor, you track them and then store them and record what they did. If they then come 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you just keep adding to the log of what is this unidentified person do. Sometimes we can, before they identify themselves, look them up in a reverse IP database. So de-anonymize their IP. So you can say somebody from this company is here now, but that's it. As you continue to do this, then at some point they will push through a form on your website. That could be newsletters, download ebook, book a demo, sign into the product. This is the point of time where you get the consent to say, now can I join who I now know who you are with what you did while you were anonymous.
So you need to get the consent for that process?
Yes. And that's the way it stays compliant with GDPR and CCPA and everything like that. That the user gives you consent to actually look at what you did before.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought you needed that.
So once you have this, that's when so that's like step one. Okay, now we know one user and his or her history. We then need to join the user with the account that they belong to plot in those touches into the rest of the timeline. So what we do here is we look in CRM systems. That's your Salesforce, your HubSpot, etc. If we can resolute the email with an account in there, it's done. If that doesn't work, we look at samodigital.com, or if that doesn't work, we'll just let the user be until we're able to associate them with an account. And this process runs all the time. So track people anonymously, store it in data warehouse, wait until they identify themselves, sort all the touches that they've now identified to an account-based timeline. And then you have not only from when they converted, but also what they did way back to the first times they were on your website.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then would it be able then to, in aggregate, figure out, these are the touch points that seem to be impactful on closing more deals, or people who haven't signed up, getting them to sign up, people who read this blog post or downloaded this ebook or whatever the thing might be, and then figure out, oh, this is impactful towards moving conversion. Let's try and get more people to touch this piece of content.
Yes, that's when you start applying an attribution model then. So the biggest attribution problem is actually the underlying data model that needs to hold as much information about every journey as possible. Then once you have that, then it's just, applying, let's say, a first touch model. It's just like giving 100% of the credit to all the first touches we know across all the accounts. If you then do that, then it starts amplifying certain things. That could be your Facebook campaign, your piece of content, your specific ebook, or something like that. Does that make sense, Aaron?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. It's something I've given a lot of thought to over the years. In fact, there was a certain point where I was thinking about building a similar product, and so it's cool to see that you guys actually went out and did it.
I think most B2B marketers have thought about
it's probably true. It's probably true. Awesome. I mean, it's kind of got me thinking a lot of directions about both, the marketing that we need to do for my agency as well as for my clients in terms of the stuff that can't be tracked and that's not direct response in the ads, but reminding us how important it is to just get good content out there that teaches people about, the solutions that you can provide and how they can think about it and provides value.
Yeah, I've also completely given up about running like thinking about content funnels, etc. Because you cannot control when they think they're top of funnel or bottom funnel or mid funnel or whatever. I really regard it as we just need to be constantly putting out high quality content, whether that's one day that it's entertaining or one day it's geeky or whatever it is. We just need to put out quality stuff all the time so we stay top of mind with a positive impression. And then most likely when they are in market, then they will come to us.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you can hope that people go through the content the way you want them to, but in reality, it's almost never the way that it works.
Then they want to see pricing, but then they want to consume a top of funnel piece of content, and It's
it's how I often look at a product. I mean, I went to Dreamdata today, and I got a quick look at what you guys did. And first thing I did is, well, let's go check out the pricing and figure out if this thing's even in budget for what we or our clients could afford. Okay, great. Now I know what your pricing is generally. So now let's go and start consuming the rest of the stuff and understand if this is the right solution. So I think it's how we buy. And then we'll come back in a couple months and make a decision.
Yeah. I mean, then in terms of content, then I would typically also start forcing people to think about who's the buying committee that you're trying to sell to. And then like if there's 3 to 5 roles involved in it and you only cover one of the roles really well, then you should probably start thinking about filling the buckets of what are the other people's asking. Particularly when you sell software at a certain price point, you need convincing like a champion that says, I like this product is, it's only the first step, because maybe there's a RevOps person we need to convince. Maybe there's a CFO. Maybe there's a data processing responsible that we need to convince. And if your website or content, your ads only cater to one of those, then it's very hard to actually sell internally that they should acquire your solution.
That's a really insightful point. It makes a lot of sense. I guess my next question would be, so how do you do it? I mean, I could probably brainstorm, but it sounds like you maybe have a solution in mind already. If you've engaged the marketer, they're thinking about the product, you're retargeting them because they watched your videos or clicked to your website. How do you then take that and say, there's probably a conversation going on within this organization with these other functions or job titles. How do we retarget those people with content now that's appropriate for their roles?
I think part of it needs to be handled by the salesperson that speaks to the lead or the account, and then like who's typically involved in this buying process. Okay, these people are, and then hopefully you can equip the salesperson then with 2 or 3 links for each of those people that they can forward to them, whether it's a business case. Yeah, something like that. Besides that, I would say I've just really become a big fan of LinkedIn lately. So it is possible to do like account-based and role-based retargeting. So typically a product cannot, at least our product can speak across marketing, sales, and RevOps. So you want to be serving one piece of content to the salespeople with one messaging there, whereas the marketers need to probably hear it from a different angle.
So you would create like a custom matched audience for all of the accounts that you're working on. So now you're targeting the company, and then you could do all the data functions within that company that you want to reach, each one with its own message that's function specific.
I have to admit, we're not doing this really perfectly, Aaron. But in
it's
theory,
hard. I mean,
it's a
theoretical.
That's what I would be doing. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, awesome. I think we've covered a lot. I think you've kind of got me thinking about a lot of great ideas as we're thinking about ramping up some new marketing activities for, like I said, for myself, for my agency, and for our clients. So I appreciate the insights. Let's jump into. We've got a quick lightning round with a couple quick questions with a few quick answers, and then we'll wrap it up because I think it's been a great interview so far.
All right, Aaron.
So first question: what's your family situation? Are you single, married, kids?
Have a girlfriend and 2 kids.
Okay.
So with a business and them, and then it's there's not a lot of extra time at the moment.
You're a busy guy. I can relate.
Yeah.
It's great. What book would you recommend for our listeners to read? Be it a fiction, nonfiction, business?
It's I'm gonna sound like a cliche now, but I just reread The Art of War with Sun Tzu, and it's like a 2,000-year-old military strategy book that is actually quite helpful in a lot of situations. So it's like a small paper bag, and if you take your time, you can actually extract a lot of value out of it.
Very cool. Yeah, I've heard people recommend that book recently as well, other places. What is your favorite marketing or productivity tool to use other than your own Dreamdata?
That would probably productivity. Then what is that? Okay, so I'll say 3 things. I would say Google Apps or anything there. I would say LinkedIn, and then I would say High Touch.
High Touch.
It's a reverse ETL platform where you can kind of put data from one place to another. So what you can do if you've defined really good audiences in your data warehouse, say everybody who reached sales qualified lead, then you can push that into Facebook or LinkedIn and retarget them there.
Very cool. I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't know that one. Who's your favorite marketing or business leader that you're learning from these days?
There's plenty, but I'm gonna go with I think it was one of the Gong fellers. I think Ud, their CMO or something like that. He said like,
I forgot his last name.
Yeah, that different is better than better. That one has really stuck with me.
Different is better than better. That's really.
I don't know if it was he, but I saw it from him, and I really like if you just do this like feature,
yeah,
then like it's an endless competition. But if you stand out and it's different, then like you build a whole different brand affinity, and then people are gonna go say, "Who fucking cares whether you have this feature?"
Right. Well, I think that's brand, right?
Exactly.
Brand is differentiation, not based on product necessarily.
Yeah, I really try to let our employees have a lot of fun and experiment with stuff, and don't be too corporate, and just see what happens. Try stuff out.
I love that. And the last question: what's your favorite online community that you're a part of, or where are you getting information from these days to help you do your job better?
I'd have to say all the people I'm connected with on LinkedIn. I think that's really become this culture of people actually they try to impress each other in a good way, so they write better and better and better LinkedIn posts. So you can really build a little bubble of like high quality content creators on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I was checking out your LinkedIn profile just this morning, preparing for this interview. And I would definitely vouch that you seem to be part of that competition, because you've been putting out some great content. So I definitely recommend that everybody go check out Steffen on LinkedIn and connect with him. Yeah. Follow his content. You'll learn a lot, I promise, definitely about attribution marketing. Anyways, thank you, Steffen. It's been a great episode. Really appreciate your time and all the knowledge and experience you shared with us. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Really appreciate the chance, Aaron. And if anybody want to ask me a question, they can just send me a DM on LinkedIn.
The SaaS Marketing Superstars podcast is brought to you by Zamo Digital Marketing. If you're enjoying the show, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Thanks again.